10 ways to outsmart your own brain. What if I told you that your brain, the very organ responsible for every thought, decision, and action you take, is actively working against you? Not out of malice, but because it's running on software designed for a world that no longer exists. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Your brain evolved to keep a cave-dwelling ancestor alive, not to help you thrive in the modern world. It's wired for immediate threats, quick calories, and social hierarchies of 150 people maximum. Meanwhile, you're navigating digital overwhelm, endless choices, and a 24/7 information avalanche. This isn't self-help nonsense. This is hard science. Neuroscientists at MIT, Stanford, and Cambridge have uncovered something extraordinary. Your brain has predictable glitches, systematic errors in processing that you can exploit once you know they exist. These aren't weaknesses. They're biological loopholes. Ancient philosophers stumbled upon these same principles through observation and practice. Now modern neuroscience confirms what the Stoics, Buddhists, and Taoists discovered thousands of years ago. I'm about to reveal 10 specific techniques that hack these mental blind spots. Each one targets a different cognitive vulnerability. Master them, and you don't just think better. You rewire the neural pathways that determine your success, happiness, and mental clarity. Your brain thinks it's in control. Time to prove it wrong. Part 1. The cognitive load. Paradox: your brain consumes 20% of your body's energy despite representing only 2% of your body weight. You'd think evolution would make it efficient, right? Wrong. Here's what neuroscience reveals. Your brain burns the same amount of energy whether you're solving calculus or scrolling Instagram. The difference is how it feels. Decision fatigue isn't about depletion, it's about perception. This is technique number 1 out of 10. The cognitive load paradox. Every morning, before checking your phone or making any decisions, write down your 3 most important choices for the day. Decide what you'll eat, what you'll work on first, and what you'll say no to. Make these decisions once on paper within 90 seconds. This works because your prefrontal cortex, your decision-making hub, operates with a limited spotlight of attention. When you pre-decide, you eliminate the micro-decisions that accumulate into mental exhaustion. You're not conserving energy, you're conserving attention. Barack Obama wore the same suit every day. Mark Zuckerberg wears identical gray t-shirts. They understood this principle before the research confirmed it. Start pre-deciding your big 3 each morning and watch decision fatigue disappear by noon. Part 2. Strategic incompletion affect you. Know that nagging feeling when you leave something unfinished? That mental itch that keeps you thinking about incomplete tasks? Most people fight it. That's the mistake. Psychologist Bluma Zygarnik discovered something remarkable in 1927. Your brain remembers unfinished tasks 2.3 times better than completed ones. This isn't a bug. It's a feature you can weaponize. This is technique number 2 out of 10, strategic incompletion effect. When you're working on important projects, stop mid-sentence. Literally leave your work at 80% completion when you're hitting your peak. Write a note about exactly what comes next, then walk away. Do this deliberately at your highest energy point, not when you're exhausted. Your subconscious can't let go of unfinished business. While you sleep, eat, or shower, your background processing keeps solving the problem. When you return, you'll experience what researchers call priming momentum. Your brain has already warmed up the neural networks. Hemingway used this technique religiously. He'd stop writing mid-sentence so he always knew how to start the next day. Start leaving your best work deliberately incomplete and watch your creative insights multiply overnight. Part 3. The misattribution reset. Your emotions don't work the way you think they do. When you feel anxious, angry, or excited, your brain often gets the cause completely wrong. Neuroscientist Lisa Feldman Barrett proved that emotions are constructed, not discovered. Your brain senses arousal, elevated heart rate, shallow breathing, then scans your environment for an explanation. It's guessing, and it's wrong more often than you realize. This is technique number 3 out of 10, the misattribution reset. The moment you feel a negative emotion, immediately do 30 seconds of vigorous physical activity. Jump, do push-ups, sprint in place, anything that spikes your heart rate further. Then pause and relabel the sensation. This is energy, not anxiety. This is readiness, not fear. Your brain creates emotions from raw physical sensations, plus contextual interpretation. By flooding your system with additional arousal through exercise, you force a reinterpretation. The physical symptoms become associated with action, not threat. This exploits something called excitation transfer, physiological arousal from one source bleeding into another context. Athletes use this before competitions to transform nervousness into competitive fire. Start relabeling your physical sensations through movement and watch anxiety transform into fuel. Part 4. Temporal Distancing Protocol U. Make terrible decisions about your future self. Not because you're irrational, but because your brain literally sees future you as a different person. MRI studies show that when you think about yourself in 10 years, the same brain regions activate as when you think about strangers. Your brain doesn't recognize future you as you, so it makes choices that benefit present you at future you's expense. This is technique number 4 out of 10. Temporal Distancing Protocol. Before making any significant decision, write a letter from your future self 10 years ahead. Write in first person, present tense. I'm so grateful that 10 years ago I decided to. Describe the consequences of your choice as if they've already happened. Spend 5 minutes on this minimum. This activates your brain simulation circuits. Neuroscientists call it episodic future thinking. You're creating a detailed memory of something that hasn't occurred. Your brain can't distinguish vividly imagined futures from remembered pasts. The emotional weight becomes real. Financial advisors who use this technique help clients save 40% more for retirement. The future suddenly feels tangible. Start consulting your future self before major choices and watch your long-term thinking sharpen dramatically. Part 5. The Productive Restriction. Method abundance is killing your creativity. More options, more time, more resources. They all lead to worse outcomes. This contradicts everything modern culture teaches. But the research is unambiguous. Psychologist Barry Schwartz documented what he calls the paradox of choice. Beyond 7-10 options, satisfaction plummets. But here's the twist. Constraints don't just reduce overwhelm, they trigger creativity. This is technique number 5 out of 10. The Productive Restriction Method. Choose your most important creative work. Now impose artificial limits. You have exactly 45 minutes. You can only use 3 tools. You must create 5 variations of the same idea. Pick one constraint and enforce it ruthlessly for 21 consecutive days. Constraints force your brain into possibility space exploration. When resources are unlimited, your prefrontal cortex defaults to familiar patterns. Restrictions force novel combinations. Twitter's 140-character limit didn't restrict expression. It birthed a new form of poetry. Dr. Seuss wrote Green Eggs and Ham using only 50 different words. It became his best-selling book. Start imposing strategic constraints on your creative work and watch innovation emerge from limitation. Part 6. Directed Forgetting Advantage. Your brain's default mode is to remember everything. Every criticism, every failure, every embarrassing moment, all stored in vivid detail. Meanwhile, successes fade into vague impressions. This negativity bias kept your ancestors alive. One forgotten threat could be fatal. But in the modern world, this bias creates a distorted reality where you systematically overweight negative experiences. This is technique number 6 out of 10, Directed Forgetting Advantage. Every evening, spend exactly 2 minutes writing down 3 things you want to deliberately forget from your day. Be specific. The awkward silence after my comment in the meeting. Then physically destroy the paper. Burn it, shred it, or tear it into pieces. Make the destruction ritualistic and satisfying. Your brain is a prediction machine that uses the past to forecast the future. When you rehearse failures, you program expectations of future failure. Directed forgetting disrupts this cycle. The physical destruction creates a psychological break, what researchers call a retrieval stop signal. Elite performers use this technique to prevent negative experiences from contaminating future performance. One bad at-bat doesn't define the season. Start actively destroying records of what you want to forget and watch past failures lose their grip on your confidence. Part 7. The Accountability Spotlight. Hack You. Think willpower is an internal battle. You're wrong. Behavior change isn't about discipline. It's about surveillance. Psychologist Dan Ariely ran experiments showing that people are 73% more honest when they believe they're being watched, even by fake cameras or cartoon eyes on a wall. Your brain is exquisitely sensitive to social observation. This is technique number 7 out of 10. The accountability spotlight. Hack. Identify the behavior you want to change. Now create a public dashboard that tracks this behavior daily. Post it where others can see it. A shared spreadsheet. A social media story. A physical chart in your office. Update it every single day without exception, even if the number is 0. This exploits your brain's terror of social judgment. Neuroscientist Matthew Lieberman found that social pain activates the same neural circuits as physical pain. The possibility of disappointing others creates authentic motivation without relying on fleeting willpower. Jerry Seinfeld's "Don't Break the Chain" method works because the visible calendar creates public accountability with your past self. Start making your commitments visible to others, and watch consistency become automatic rather than agonizing. Part 8. Cognitive Reappraisal Reversal. You have been taught to reframe negative situations positively. Look on the bright side. Find the silver lining. This advice is not only ineffective, it's counterproductive. Stanford psychologist James Gross discovered that forced positive reappraisal activates stress responses. Your brain knows you're lying to yourself. The disconnect between reality and forced positivity creates what he calls emotional dissonance. This is technique number 8 out of 10. Cognitive reappraisal reversal. When something terrible happens, do the opposite of positive reframing. Spend exactly 3 minutes catastrophizing completely. Imagine the absolute worst possible cascade of consequences. Write them down, making each one more absurd than the last. Push until you reach scenarios so extreme they become ridiculous. This leverages a principle called paradoxical intention. By consciously exaggerating your fears, you expose their irrationality. Your brain's threat detection system realizes it's being mocked and recalibrates. Anxiety thrives on vague possibilities. Specificity kills it. Therapists use this for OCD and anxiety disorders with remarkable success. The fear loses power when you pull it into full daylight. Start catastrophizing deliberately and watch genuine anxiety dissolve into absurdity within minutes. Part 1. The Memory Reconsolidation Window. Time you remember something. You don't retrieve a file, you rebuild it from fragments. And here's the critical part. For 6 hours after remembering, that memory is vulnerable to modification. Neuroscientist Karim Nader proved that memories reconsolidate after recall. They're briefly unstable, open to editing. This is why therapy works. But it's also why rumination strengthens trauma. This is technique number 9 out of 10. The Memory Reconsolidation Window. Identify a limiting belief rooted in a specific past experience. Now recall that memory in vivid detail while simultaneously engaging in a novel, positive physical experience. Go for a walk in a beautiful place you've never been. Listen to uplifting music you've never heard. Combine memory recall with sensory novelty for at least 20 minutes. Your brain binds memories with current context during reconsolidation. By pairing the old memory with new positive stimuli, you literally rewrite the emotional tone attached to it. The original event stays factually the same, but its psychological weight transforms. This is cutting-edge PTSD treatment, but you can use it for everyday psychological baggage. Start deliberately recalling limiting memories during positive experiences and watch old wounds lose their emotional charge. Part 10. The Ultradian Performance. Pulse. You structure your day around arbitrary time blocks. 8-hour workdays, hour-long meetings. These have nothing to do with biology and everything to do with industrial-era factory shifts. Chronobiologist Nathaniel Kleitman discovered ultradian rhythms, 90-120-minute cycles of alertness and fatigue that repeat throughout the day. Your brain oscillates naturally. Fighting this rhythm is exhausting and futile. This is technique number 10 out of 10. The Ultradian Performance Pulse. Redesign your entire day around 90-minute focus blocks. Work intensely for 90 minutes on a single task, no interruptions. Then take a mandatory 20-minute break where you completely disengage. Walk, nap, daydream, but absolutely no screens. Repeat this cycle 3 times daily maximum. This synchronizes with your brain's natural arousal patterns. During peak ultradian phases, your prefrontal cortex operates at maximum capacity. During troughs, forcing focus depletes your system. Strategic rest isn't laziness, it's physiological necessity. Elite musicians, writers, and athletes discovered this independently. Anders Ericsson's research on expert performance confirmed 90-minute sessions as optimal. Start aligning your work with your brain's natural rhythms and watch your productive hours double without increasing effort. Closing. These aren't 10 separate tricks. They're a complete system for exploiting your brain's architecture instead of fighting it. You've spent your entire life trying to overcome your neurology through willpower and discipline. That's like trying to win a race by pushing your car instead of driving it. These 10 techniques show you where the ignition is. Science confirms what ancient wisdom always knew. The obstacle isn't your enemy. Understanding the obstacle transforms it into advantage. Your brain's glitches become your greatest assets once you know how they operate. Pre-decide to eliminate decision fatigue. Leave work unfinished to prime creativity. Relabel arousal to transform anxiety. Consult your future self. Embrace constraints. Destroy negative memories. Create public accountability. Catastrophize deliberately. Rewrite emotional memories. Synchronize with ultradian rhythms. Each technique targets a different cognitive vulnerability. Together, they form a comprehensive protocol for cognitive enhancement that costs nothing and requires only awareness and practice. Your transformation doesn't start tomorrow or next week. It starts the moment you implement one of these techniques today. Pick the one that resonates most. Master it for 21 days. Then add another. Your brain will resist. It prefers familiar patterns, even destructive ones. Push through the initial discomfort. Neural pathways strengthen with repetition. Your future self, smarter, calmer, more effective, is waiting. That person exists as a potential inside you right now. These 10 techniques are the bridge between who you are and who you're capable of becoming. The gap isn't talent or intelligence. It's knowledge. Now you have it.